Okay, I think we'll make a start. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to UCL. My name is John Brooks. I'm what's known as a European advisor at the UK Research Office. Amongst other things, I help us deliver, as an office, our national contact point services for the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, which is why I'm here today chairing this first session. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome you. Thanks so much for spending time with us today. What I'm going to do just in the first instance, before I hand over to the Deputy Director, Georgina, is run through some housekeeping, so the really exciting part of the day. So just to be aware that we don't have any fire alarms planned, and we don't have any fires planned either. So if not dying in a fire is your thing, please move towards the fire wardens if the alarm sounds. They are here, they'll make themselves known to you. Move towards them and away from the fire, just to ensure your own continued existence. Today we are recording the session, okay? And we are taking photographs of the different speakers and the sessions. If you don't want to have your image shared, or if you'd rather remain anonymous, that's absolutely fine. Please just make yourself known to the members of staff at UCL who are responsible for that. I believe they are, you can find them because they're wearing a particular blue top. So if not, come and grab one of the organisers or one of the tech support. We've got quite a packed agenda for today, but there are lots of breaks scheduled at various different times. Hopefully you'll have seen the programme for today, and please do take the opportunity during those breaks to maximise any networking activity that you may wish to do. The way it's going to work today is, for each session, we're going to wait until the very end, until we open for Q&A. Okay, so once each speaker has had the chance to offer their interjection, we will then take questions at the end. If you do have a question, please make it as succinct as possible. If you have a particular question about, I don't know, a project idea or a Marie Curie project that you're thinking of, maybe come and grab either myself or my colleague Anne during the break, rather than asking one of the speakers. So we've got a number of different breaks programmed in. And just as well, if I may, just to introduce or set the context for today, today is essentially split into two halves. So the first half is a celebration, if you like, of the UK's association to Horizon Europe. Perhaps don't worry too much if that terminology or those things aren't immediately familiar to you, because as we go through the programme today, we'll be finding out more about Marie Curie. But the first half is really a celebration of Marie Curie, and in its status, its role, as one of the main flagship opportunities, if we can put it that way, within Horizon Europe, around access to PhD training, and also, if you have a PhD already, to the fellowship program and the postdoctoral fellowship program as well. So the first half of today's session will be very much around celebrating the UK's role and participation in the scheme, and then the second half will be dedicated in various different breakout sessions and plenary sessions to go into a bit more granular detail about each of those particular schemes, okay? So the first half will be quite general, quite high level, quite celebratory, we hope, in tone, and then we'll go into some of the detail later on. It just remains for me to just share one reflection. When I was asked to chair this session, I looked a little bit into the life of Marie Curie, because even though I've been sort of supporting Marie Curie actions for over a decade now, I didn't know too much about her as an individual. And it's really the only part of Horizon Europe which actually has an individual's name attached to it. And I was kind of wondering why that might be. For those of you who aren't aware, then Marie Curie, or Marie Skłodowska-Curie as we know her now, she is quite rightly celebrated for her academic achievements. So for those who aren't aware, she discovered radium, polonium, she won the Nobel Prize twice, and she also had one of the elements named after, so curium is named after Marie Curie as well. So she's quite rightly celebrated, in my mind, for her academic achievements. But perhaps, to me, reading more about her life, she should be celebrated for her personal achievements as well. So she gives her name to a programme, but hers is not just a story of academic achievement, it's also a story of personal struggle. So she was born into relative poverty in Warsaw. She wasn't allowed to attend university in Poland. Her and her sister weren't allowed to attend because they were female. That's why she then had to move to France. And both she and her sister had to sacrifice quite a lot for their academic career. She lived in more or less abject poverty when she was in Paris studying. It's reported that she just lived off bread and tea, which sounds like my existence now, but that's the struggle she had to go through. And as well as that, she struggled for laboratory space. She met her husband because simply he had the space in which she could work. So she sacrificed quite a lot as an individual as well as an academic. So I would like to think, and to set that context for this opening session when we learn more about Marie Curie at the highest level, that it's not just necessarily about celebrating the academic achievements of researchers, but also their sacrifices and their personal endeavours as well. And I would like to think that that was in the back of someone's mind when they named Marie Curie and gave this part, the name to this part of the programme. So inspirational in both senses. And speaking of inspirational women in research, that gives me a fantastic segue into just introducing the Deputy Director for UCRO, Dr. Georgina Drury. So George is the Deputy Director for UCRO. She has experience of working in UKRI, the Future Leader Fellowship Programme, the MRC and BBSRC, I believe. And George is just going to say a few words of welcome before we then introduce some of the other plenary speakers. So George, over to you.
Thank you very much, John, and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for this event. I'm going to say a few words on how today came about and what we hope to get out of the day and what sessions we've got in order to support you. So it won't be a surprise to anybody that following association from the beginning of this year, that many organisations have shared priorities for increased participation. So the UK Government Department for Science, Innovation and Technology, who are here with us today, Innovate UK, UKRI, Universities UK International, the academies, we all share the same ambitions to support the UK research and innovation sector to increase their engagement across all the pillars of Horizon Europe, so all pillars and all sectors and all schemes. What we want to see is an increase in high quality application numbers. And in terms of Pillar 1 and the Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions, it's a really important scheme for the UK. And our team, UCRO, got together with the European Commission and UKI, and we discussed how could we take some positive action to support the sector and really ensure that we could sort of, augment and build some momentum towards increased participation. So one of our key goals for today is that we foster a lasting and meaningful engagement with the scheme. And so, yes, if we just got some increased application numbers to the next set of deadlines, that would be a great metric we could report on. What we really, really want is to embed a deep understanding of the scheme, the aims, what the opportunities mean for people, and ensure that this is taken forward by people as a sustained pipeline of quality applications to all the schemes. So the sessions today, so John's already given a bit of introduction, so I'm not going to dwell too much on this today. But we've got some really great plenaries this morning. We'll be going into some of the scheme specifics, particularly the global mobility in the next session. Our third session will be a deep dive into the schemes themselves. And just to say, if you are in the postdoctoral fellowship session, you will stay in here. If you're in the doctoral networks session, we'll be in the Elvin Hall. We'll have lots of people around to herd people to the appropriate place at the appropriate time, so don't worry about that. We'll all convene back in here for the Staff Exchanges Co-Fund and MSCA Citizens. So we'll be wrapping up the day, hearing from UUKI and the Marie Curie Alumni Association, and I do hope that you'll all be able to stay with us for a networking drink at the end. And on the subject of networking, there's loads of different teams here. And we really want you to get the most out of engaging with each other, but also networking with us. And so speakers, we've got a green dot on our badges. Other UKRI staff should have, I think, a blue dot on their badges. And we will make sure that we are kind of milling around out by the coffee and the merchandise and the stand areas. So please do come and approach us if there's any specific questions and anything that we can help with. So all that's left for me to do is thank you all again for coming, and I hope you all have a really, really great day.
Great, thanks, George. One thing that I hadn't mentioned, thank you, is that just due to the pre-election period, so You'll probably probably be aware that there is a general election next week. For that reason, what we haven't done is promoted more widely as ourselves the event, but we would encourage you guys to do so. So there's no restriction in you guys tweeting, retweeting, whatever it's called now, posting, however you harvest your likes and validation, please do that. We won't probably repost anything that you forward on to us, but if you're concerned, that is the reason, because we're in this pre-election period. But other than that, just the only thing that remains for me to do is just introduce our next speaker. So Professor Christopher Smith will be familiar or known to many of you. He's the Executive Chair of the Arts and Humanities Research Council, but perhaps most importantly in this context, he is what we call the international champion for the whole of UKRI. Christopher's going to offer an intervention now just on the UK's position and celebrating our reassociation or association to Horizon Europe. So Christopher, over to you.
Very good. So thank you all very much. Thank you to UCL for hosting us here, and thank you to you all for coming along. I'm really looking forward to spending a few moments talking about this wonderful opportunity which is offered to us by our association with Horizon Europe, which is the world's largest research funding programme with a budget of nearly £100 billion across the years from 2021 to 2027. It is the way in which Europe makes clear that it is absolutely at the forefront of the way that research and innovation takes place across the world. The value of Horizon Europe as a research and innovation framework programme goes far beyond any purely fiscal benefits, though they exist and they are important. The strategic nature of the programme also seeks to address sustainable development goals, and it helps to achieve the overall policy aims of the European Commission, for example, the Green Deal for Europe. In particular, the emphasis on strategic investments in Pillar 2, clusters and missions, means that this research, development and innovation enables a significant positive impact on the world's most pressing and intractable challenges, those that face all of us and those who face those far less fortunate than we are. Participation in the programme by member states and associated countries and the emphasis on collaboration between us means that the very best research groups can work together on these challenges, fostering new collaborations and driving up quality of research and innovation, its reach and its impact. And what this means to us in the UK as an associated country is that we are now once again able to participate in the world's biggest research programme. Our researchers and innovators can lead and participate in consortia and apply for mono-beneficiary grants. And I want to take a moment to really celebrate that achievement and to say thank you to everybody who worked so hard to achieve this. And that begins with our colleagues in the European Commission and also the European Research Council, whose collaboration with UKRI to deliver the guarantee, which is still underpinning our association as it did all through the period of negotiation, has led to nearly £2 billion of grants chosen by the European Research Commission and funded by UKRI. I'm also immensely grateful to our colleagues across government, particularly in DCIT, who worked with us to land those negotiations in the right place. And I am particularly grateful to colleagues in the academic community who worked with us, Universities UK and Universities UK International, and the sometimes unnoticed, unheralded, unsung, but exceptionally important work of the UK Research Office in Brussels, without whose knowledge, understanding, comprehension, and sheer hard work, we'd never have achieved, I believe, the deal that we did. So thank you. And I think we should thank ourselves. So why don't we celebrate and give ourselves a round of applause, because we're back in. Okay. So, of course, wouldn't be a speech if I didn't say, and now there's a challenge. There's always a challenge. So the challenge that lies ahead, of course, is that we need now to increase our participation. As George said, we need to get not just a matter of putting in grants, but putting in the best quality grants and achieving success for the UK, but therefore for the whole of the framework, which of course needs to go through its renewal and is therefore absolutely essential that it shows its value. So this is a call to increase our participation. The UK government is investing on average nearly £2.5 billion a year from 2024, and we need to show that we can actually make good on that investment. We know that there's been some uncertainty over the past few years. We know that there's a little bit of loss of expertise in UK institutions. So we need to really work to make sure that we now have everything back in place that we had before and that we will need for the future. We can see that it's already working. So UK applications to ERC 2024 starting grant call was up by 52%. We don't have the full data set to know how the UK is faring across the piece, not just on one call. And we do know that it'll take some time for us to get back to the place that we would like to be. But I think it's absolutely clear that universities and researchers and innovators are keen to be engaged. And we in UKRI are here to help. On the 12th of February, we celebrated our association to Horizon Europe alongside European Research Commissioner Iliana Ivanova at the Royal Society, one of our other many partners in achieving this increased participation. It's a milestone event, positively received right across the academic and business sectors. And I believe it launched a new chapter in the UK-EU research and development relationship and sustains our joint effort to boost participation. In January, UCRO and UUKI ran an event for research managers driving up participation, which involved research support staff specialising in European applications. We've taken part in the Brussels Research and Innovation Week in March, with UCRO and UCRI International participating, giving a strong message that we're back. UK's Department for Science, Technology, Innovation and Technology, DSIT, colleagues welcome, has hosted roadshow events in Birmingham and Glasgow with others planned. They were the sort of warm-up act for Taylor Swift, you know. Key aims are ensuring that the message about Horizon reaches businesses of all kinds. Really important that we have businesses involved who might not have previously considered applying. The British Academy, the Royal Society, the Academy of Medical Sciences, the Royal Academy of Engineering all receive funding from DSIT to support proposals from UK and EU/associated countries to pump prime collaborations, to support the uptake of opportunities. There are value grants of £10,000 per grant. We're supporting researchers and innovators in the UK through the network of national contact points, which John mentioned, through UKRI, through UKRO, providing practical support through the UCRO portal, online events, visits, and occasions like this. Many of you will have benefited from the UK Research Office's support in navigating both applying and complying with framework programme projects. And we're going to continue to work closely with DSIT, Universities UK International, and the academies to coordinate this support. This event today is part of our wider efforts to promote participation. Now, why should we be doing this? This great opportunity that we have shows us how global the UK sector is. Some of the stats on the slide. 60% of UK publications co-authored with at least one non-UK author by 2020. And we know that really importantly, those internationally co-authored papers are receiving more citations. That's really critical. So not just collaboration for its own sake, it's collaboration because the science is better. In 21-22, 31% of the UK's academic staff were non-UK nationals, which means that we are a great place for people to work, and those collaborations that people bring with them into the universities are so valuable for us then to allow our researchers to go back and collaborate internationally. Around 43% of postgraduate enrolments annually are from outside the UK. We established under Horizon 2020 over 230,000 collaborative links in 163 countries. And that reminds us that Horizon Europe isn't just about Europe, it's about the world. It's our gateway to the world. 230,000 collaborative links in 163 countries. Horizon Europe is our portal to being a global leader for good. Some people like the phrase science superpower. I love that notion of a force for good. And the fact that science can do so much to help those right across the world who desperately need support, help, and access to opportunity. Because we know that by unlocking the global talent that there is, we will simply drive our science and our global well-being further forward. In fact, our position in Horizon 2020 is critical. We're one of the strongest performing countries. We do well in receiving funding. Much of that funding goes to higher education institutions. And really importantly, within that, MSCA funding pulls together universities and also private not-for-profit entities and public bodies. So we get the opportunity to do everything. The wonderful triangle of public funding, public universities like universities, and private success. We can point to AstraZeneca UK Limited, Toshiba, Victoria and Albert Museum, the Natural History Museum, Birmingham City Council, many, many others, to get a really great sense of us working together. And this continued even when we were not associated, where the UK had the highest average success rates across the 2021 to 2023 MSc postdoctoral fellowship calls. And I think that just tells us how important this is for us, but how I think valuable our contribution and participation is to the whole success of the framework programme. And I think I now get the chance to give us a chance. Oh, look, we've got all sorts more numbers. There we are. Look at this. Oh, fantastic. Stats are terrific. And you can see here just the scale of what's being achieved. But I want to move from this because, 102 doctoral network grants, wonderful statistic. What does it really mean? Now let's actually look at an example. There are people here holding these grants. I want to say thank you so much to you for your effort in winning these grants and holding them. And now we're going to show a short video of an example of how MSCA worked, can really drive forward wonderful collaborative science and innovation for good.
Are you ready to take your career to the next level?
Our MSCA program provided 15 early-stage researchers with a training program tailored specifically to the needs of their individual PhD projects.
I moved from Switzerland back to the UK and to the University of Birmingham, where I've established my own independent research group here within the Institute of Immunology.
I'm an architect from Italy. After my PhD, it was not possible to proceed with research. I returned to industry, working as an architect, while looking at opportunity to proceed with research.
I'm the managing director of a digital technology innovation group. Having this exchange helped us really to integrate with academic partners, understand how they work.
Not only do they acquire the research skills they would normally get on a PhD program, but they have a designated and very generous training budget that enables them to acquire a whole range of research and transferable skills.
I thought that is my opportunity, the chance to change and to proceed with research.
What attracted me most to this fellowship was the package that came with it of training and development.
When I decided to take maternity leave, when I had my daughter, I could just stop the clock on my fellowship and then restart it later on when I was ready to come back to work.
It helped in overcoming gender and age limitation.
The program helped us to deliver the innovation, deliver new products, understanding of the market, and hopefully help our academic partners as well.
The fellowship opened the door for me to develop my dream and overcoming strong constraint and limitation.
There are networks, researchers, both here locally in Birmingham and also nationally.
I would recommend all current MSCA fellows to sign up to the Marie Curie Alumni Association. I was part to expand my network, and I was also able to pick up a lot of different transversal skills that were very useful for my career development.
I would really encourage people who are in a similar position to me to apply for this program.
Even at the stage of preparation of a proposal, already you can see how this connection helps to generate new ideas, find new opportunities for collaboration.
I think it's really supported me over the last few years, having that time and financial support to really establish myself and my ideas.
Are you ready to take your business to the next level?
The MSCA program offers unparalleled opportunities
In both the academic and non-academic sectors.
With full funding provided, you have the freedom to choose your research.
In any discipline of your choice.
Embrace the chance to train internationally.
and enjoy the benefits of global mobility.
Apply the fellowship.
And shape the future.
Your journey starts here.
The journey starts here.
Your journey starts here.
Your journey starts here.
Okay, thank you so much. And would you all join me just in a round of applause thanking Christopher for his intervention as well? Thank you. Okay, so the session now takes on a much more Gallic flavour, and it's my absolute pleasure to introduce the first of the next two speakers. So Claire Morel, who's come from Brussels specifically for today's session, so absolutely delighted to be able to welcome her for her intervention. Claire's had multiple roles in the European Commission over the years, previously the head of international cooperation for the DG for Education, Youth and Culture, but most importantly, she is now the head of unit within the European Commission for the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, so all of those programs that you apply to or support people applying to. Claire is well known but much loved by ourselves in the office. Claire's very kindly agreed to be with us today. I know it's a little short notice stepping in for colleagues, but I'm going to hand over to Claire now, who's going to offer us an intervention from the European side. So please welcome Claire Morel.
Thank you very much. John, did you say garlic flavor? Okay. Okay, garlic flavor. Okay. Well, thank you very much for inviting me. And thank you very much for your encouragements and the nice introduction to the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions. I'm not here alone today. I'm here with colleagues as well from the Research Executive Agency. In fact, 3 of them are here today, so you can really talk to them. They will present in more detail their actions. I have also a colleague from my unit, so we are here really to talk, to explain, to answer your questions. And I have to say that we are very happy that the UK is back in Horizon Europe, and in particular is back with the MSCA, the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, because under the previous framework program, under Horizon Europe, the UK was the most active partner and the most probably attractive R&I destination in Europe. So we're really, really happy. I mean, for MSCA, it really means a lot. And in addition to my colleagues, you've heard as well that we have the national contact points who are really essential in helping you preparing your application. Thank you very much as well, John, for reminding what Marie Curie stands for, her life, and also the values that she was promoting in her own life. So my presentation now, my short presentation, will be really to remind you what the main principles and the main values of the MSCA, and why we think it's a great program and why you should apply for it. So. Okay, I didn't. Okay. So the MSCA is part. So this is the let's say the pillar structure of the Horizon Europe, and MSCA is part of Pillar 1, which is the pillar which funds excellent science. So it supports frontier research, it's breakthrough scientific ideas, and it allows as well teaming up of the best researchers in Europe and beyond, and equip researchers with skills that will offer them the possibility to continue their research work within and outside academia. So in the first pillar, you see that we have the research, the ERC, the European Research Council, and research infrastructures as well. I'm not sure how this works. Yes, okay. So those are the core objectives of the Marie Skłodowska-Curie action. It's not a new program. It started in '96, so you probably have maybe one way or another been involved in the program before. It's the reference program, the EU flagship program that supports researchers at all stages of their career with a particular focus on the training, on their career development and the development of their transversal skills as well. It promotes an impact not only on individual researchers, as you've heard, but also it has a strong impact on the institutions that are taking part on the program by offering doctoral program, postdoctoral fellowships, but also collaborative projects, as you will hear. It allows the institutions which are involved in the program to increase their visibility, their attractiveness, and the quality as well of the program that they offered. It's bottom-up. It's like the DRC. Bottom-up, it means that it's open to all scientific disciplines. So we do not organize targeted calls, and we select proposals on the basis of their impact, obviously their attractiveness, and the quality of their implementation. The program also has a very strong scientific content. We've just had a exposed evaluation of the previous program, which shows that together with DRC, MSEA is the program with the highest research content, the highest number of high impact publication, etc. We support international mobility, but also intersectoral mobility and interdisciplinary mobility and cooperation. And this is a program, as has just been said, which is open to the world. So researchers from all over the world can participate in it. There are no restrictions. And currently, about 40% of our researchers are from outside the EU. So it's truly the most international part of Horizon Europe. We promote as well cooperation beyond academia, as was already mentioned, including with financial incentives, as you will hear. And when we mean beyond academia, it's not only business, it's not only SME or enterprises, it's any partner outside academia. It can be museums, it can be hospitals, it can be public administrations. It's really open to any organization that can have a role in research and innovation. The program promotes as well attractive working and employment conditions. So all our researchers are recruited with an employment contract with guaranteed social security coverage, sickness insurance, and they receive monthly allowances, not only for them, but for their family as well, if they have a family, and for their mobility costs. The backbone of the program is what we call the European Charter for Researchers, which aim at offering the same rights and obligation to researchers all over Europe. So all the researchers and all the organizations that are participating in the MSEA must apply this European Charter for Researchers, which, for example, allows researchers to be recruited under open, merit-based recruitment procedures. The Charter has introduced, we think, very good practices in universities, not only those participating in MSEA, but also well beyond, in terms, for example, of taking into account the multiple roles of researchers. We know that the researchers are also supervisors, mentors, communicators. So this is taken into account when our projects are recruiting researchers. The Charter puts as well a particular emphasis on ethical principles, research freedom, continuing professional development, excellent working conditions, as I mentioned, etc. The next one, yes. In addition to the core, let's say, priorities and principle of the program that I've just presented to you, I'd like to mention some others which are also important when you will be preparing your application. The equal opportunities, obviously, the diversity and inclusiveness. For example, the program supports women into research, and currently more than 40% of our researchers are female researchers, and this is as well in line with the charter that I mentioned earlier. Academic freedom and the freedom of scientific research is also at the heart of our program. We have in the past years funded a scheme which is called Inspire Europe that supports researchers at risk. 2 years ago, we launched a specific program, MSCA for Ukraine, which supports researchers from Ukraine who are displaced and it allows them to continue their research in Europe. And we are now launching what we call a preparatory action for a fellowship scheme for researchers at risk that comes from the European Parliament. So the European Parliament is asking us to do a sort of preparatory pilot action, and if it becomes, if we think at the end that it's viable and relevant action, it might become a future action under the Future Framework Programme to support researchers at risk in the world. The program also supports responsible research and innovation, so this implies that all societal actors work together for the benefit of society and the expectations of society at large, promotes open science through targeted training activities. I mentioned that there is a strong, very strong training and skills development dimension in the program, ensuring open access to research outcome as well. We support as well the reform of research assessment. As I mentioned, this is a new vision that recognizes the diverse roles and outputs of researchers. And that is based on quality judgment, and this has always been the philosophy of the MSCA. As I said, that researchers have multiple roles, and all these roles need to be recognized. Environmental sustainability is also an important priority. We've introduced a few years ago the MSCA Green Charter, which promotes sustainable behaviors and policies. All our researchers and organizations participating in the program are encouraged to observe these green principles during the implementation of their programs. And also quality supervision is an important aspect of the program. We've introduced a few years ago guidelines on supervision, which are a set of recommendations for organizations, for researchers and supervisors to be sure that the researchers are properly supervised, and the recommendation touch upon the support for their career development, to the well-being, up to conflict resolution. Now, if we look at the next slides, and those are the 5 actions that are funded by the program. I will not go into detail because, as was already announced, you will have a detailed presentation of all these actions. So the biggest one, which represents about half of our budget, are the MSCA, the doctoral programs. They were called ITN in the previous version of the program. They were called the ITN for Innovative Training Networks. And those are, let's say, they are implemented by a consortium of organizations that receive funding, and these organizations can be academic or non-academic partners, and once they're selected, then they do the selection of the researchers themselves, and these researchers can come from anywhere in the world. The second biggest action, where in fact the UK has been most active, are the postdoctoral fellowships. They were called individual fellowships in the past, which allow more experienced researchers interested in doing their research in Europe or outside to apply, and this is open to any researchers of any nationality, and you will hear more about it later on. The third action, staff exchanges, which is maybe a little bit less well known, is a collaborative types of cooperation, and it allows teams of researchers based, again, anywhere in the world to fund short-term international and intersectoral exchanges for teams of researchers working on joint projects. And the interesting aspect of this action is that it's not only open to researchers, but to anyone involved in research, so it can be technicians, managers, and managerial staff, administrative staff as well. We also co-fund, this is our fourth action, we co-fund doctoral programs and postdoctoral fellowships. And our last action, which is called the MSc and Citizens, and it's mainly the European Researchers' Night, which is the biggest science communication event in Europe, and it takes place throughout Europe. And on the last last Friday of September. And within the European Researchers' Night, we also have introduced a new action called Researchers at Schools, allowing researchers to cooperate with schools and in many different ways. And I think there will be also a short presentation of this later on. Now, my last slides are, yes, so those are the figures, so that you know, you have a little bit an idea of how many researchers and organizations were involved in the previous version of the framework program, so Horizon 2020, and that was until 2020, yes. So you see that the program has funded more than 1,000 doctoral programs with more than 4,400 companies and other non-academic partners involved. On the next one, yes, the next one. Yes, so this is a few statistics. I think some of them were already presented to you on the participation of UK organizations and UK researchers in Horizon Europe. So I think what is interesting is that, I mean, the extremely high number of applications, proposals submitted by UK organizations. You see 23,000, it's incredible. Out of these proposals, 3,600 projects were funded with at least one UK partner, and the action which was the most, let's say, popular in the UK under the previous program were the postdoctoral or the individual fellowships, as they were called. 70% of all the projects were for the individual fellowships. And I think it's important today for you to know that there are other types of actions like the doctoral networks or staff exchanges where the, let's say, UK organizations were less involved in the past. Yes. And now this is the participation of the UK under Horizon Europe. So even if the UK was not an associated partner, you will hear that it could participate up until last year as associated partner, so not beneficiary, not receiving directly the funds, but still UK organization could participate in the program. And in the case of the postdoctoral fellowships, even they could apply, and even if they were not funded by MSCA, the UK Guarantee Fund would step in and allow the postdoctoral fellowship to be funded thanks to this great funding scheme put in place by the UK government. So these are all links. I mean, I'm not going to go through them now, but you will receive my slides. So I hope that you will find the presentation that you will hear today interesting, that you will apply in big numbers, not only for the postdoctoral fellowships, because we know very well that there is, the UK is a big, I mean, is a very attractive R&I destination for foreign researchers, but there is much more than that in MSCA. Thank you very much for your attention.
Fantastic, merci, thank you, Claire. And just for the absolute avoidance of doubt, Gallic, not garlic. Imagine if I had said garlic flavour, caused a diplomatic incident. So that moves us on to our final speaker. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce a kind of diplomatic dimension, I guess, to the final part of today. Just to prime you all as well, remember that we're having a dedicated Q&A session at the end. So once Cyril has offered his intervention, we're going to open to the floor and ask you guys if you have any questions. So think about those just in anticipation. But finally, the last speaker of the first session is Cyril Robin Champignol. Absolute pleasure to welcome him from the delegation of the European Union to the United Kingdom. He is the head of the Economic and Trade Affairs section, and amongst other things, preoccupies himself with the management of the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, that infamous TCA, of which we all know quite a lot about if we've had anything to do with matters regarding Brexit. So Cyril, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and good morning. Actually, I'm also the Sounds Counselor at the delegation, which explains a little bit my presence with you today. I'm going to complement Claire's excellent presentation with a few more figures, but I assume a lot of you are scientists, so you must have at least a little taste for figure, and you can handle a few more. We've heard from Professor Smith that the UK was the best performing country under Horizon 2020. And I have further good news for you, actually. It was the best performing country each and every year of Horizon 2020, between 2024 and 2020. The only thing that changed a little bit from one year to another, and I won't say why, because we're in a pre-election period, so I won't pronounce the B word. Some years, towards the end of the period, the UK was ranked first, but by a small margin. Around the UK accounted for 13.5 to 14.5% of total participations in the Marie Curie program. In the best years, more towards the beginning, the potential, the UK's performance was first by a very substantial margin, more than 20% and up to almost 24%, even in the best year of participations in the Marie Curie program. So that's the potential of the UK, which is really considerable. And our objective, I guess, is to move back to these excellent, extraordinary, actually, levels of participation. So all my small intervention will be to complement what has been said by Claire with a bit more UK-focused figures and facts. As you've seen as well, the UKRI guarantee, which is our best source of information and figures and data on participation in Horizon Europe during the slightly complicated years before association, show that more than 800 participants have been registered from the UK already. And what I want to simply say is that this is not just in London and the Southeast. It's very much all over the UK, and that's another very important fact. Of those more than 800, I saw that more than 85, I think, come from Scotland, so bravo Scotland, 24 from Wales, 15 from Northern Ireland. And for the England part, so I don't have the detailed figures from UKRI, but I have a subset of figures from our own Horizon Europe dashboard, which is not complete due to those slight difficulties, but still in this subset of 648 participation that we do have registered in the dashboard, in our dashboard, of which 500 something are from England. We have 117 from the north. We have 88 from the east of England, 72 from the Midlands. So just to say, it's the whole of the UK that is concerned and has potential to participate and does participate in Marie Curie actions. And it's also not just academia, it's also companies. And actually, Claire explained the very vast array of and types of organizations that can participate, public services as well. But the figure I have here is for SMEs, and I see that almost 100 SMEs are actually participating under Horizon Europe to Marie Curie fellowships in the UK. And when you look at who these are, they're very much high-tech startups or tech-intensive companies, also from all over the UK. The final thing I wanted to share with you before we move to questions is I was curious to look a bit deeper into what are those projects about? What are they researching? And so I looked at the list, which is a very unpalatable 6 pages of very thin character list of projects, and I won't bore you with all of it, but just a few titles, a few topics. And I think what is fascinating is that it's an incredible variety of topics. So I won't bore you for long, but just looking at the titles, I see that some projects are about nanoplastics, carbon capture, artificial intelligence, oncology, aging, counterterrorism, robotics, offshore wind, electric vehicles, drones, literature, air pollution, democracy and democratic designs, 6G, nanoscience, don't worry, I won't go through all the list, but just a few more. Diabetes, wind turbines, cyberbullying, Latin America, it's a global program, the metaverse, Alzheimer's. Okay, I'll pass the next ones, but let me finish with a few more. Satellite services, sports, football, that's very relevant today. Goethe, Francis Bacon, the early exploitation of cetaceans in Western Europe. What else? The politics of love, I love that one. And to finish with two, just to show how global that program is, an exchange program between Europe, America, and Japan, and global entrepreneurial talent management, all in the list that are printed this morning. So I'll just finish on that. I mean, if one of you is telling us that this program is not for you, I cannot believe you, because this is just not about what either Claire or I or Professor Smith think is important to research. It's about what you want to research. It's a bottom-up program, a truly bottom-up program. And whatever you want to do, you can do it through Marie Curie. That's what I wanted to share.
Okay, thank you so much, merci Cyril, and thank you for making the first football reference of the day as well. So we're going to spend
the
next...
to be a bit better at Marie Curie than at football.
Yeah, quite right. I was going to make a joke about Scotland performing well in Marie Curie, but not. Anyway. Right, so moving us on diplomatically, I hope. So we now just have a few minutes. If anyone does have any questions, now is the time. Obviously, if there is opportunity, you can grab either myself, a member of the UPCRO team, or the speakers in the networking. But if anyone feels particularly provoked by what has been said in this first section, now is your time to ask questions. We have, I believe, roving mics, potentially. Looks around. There's an outbreak of silence and indifference, so we do not have roaming mics, so you might need to project yourself. If you do have a question, please just quickly introduce yourself and be as succinct if you can. We're not necessarily looking for soliloquies, just questions from the panel. Does anyone have any questions at all? Yes, the gentleman, please project your voice, if you may.
Hi, wonderful, thank you for all those presentations. I'm Steve Hodges, I'm a professor at Lancaster University. So I appreciate when you're putting up lots of stats, it's very, they all come from different sources, so they're not necessarily completely consistent. But there were two things in all those numbers that kind of came out. One is, at some point, I think the speaker said that the UK had committed to put in £2.5 billion a year over the next. On average. But there's another slide that said the UK gets back 1.something billion euros, so I was kind of wondering how that balances out. But presumably it's just a snapshot of data. And I might have misread that. And the other question I had to do with stats. I mean, it's fantastic to have your enthusiasm. Like UK, right, we're back in, we need to, to kind of pick up where we left off a few years ago. But at the same time, I'm hearing there's not big numbers of the number of applications we have, the number of people already involved. So is it, we have seen a drop-off. We think that there's sort of capacity. We need to ramp back up again because it seems like already there's a lot of engagement. So, sorry, two separate questions.
No problem, thank you. Who'd like to start? With Christopher, maybe?
So one of the issues about the numbers is that we upfront our subscription and then the return flow is spread. So you can't quite do a X. If you put X in 1 year, you should get X out in the same year. So that's the problem. We at the moment are seeing quite large flows out because we're early on and there are some weird perturbations. I think we're probably keen to make sure that we actually do keep applying and keep succeeding because we do need to equalize those over the full run, but we're never quite going to get to a X goes out, Y comes back in. However, vis-a-vis your second point about, do we still need to keep going? Of course, we're talking here largely about Marie Curie. There's an awful lot of other Horizon Europe stuff. I mentioned the importance of businesses. Businesses can be involved in Marie Curie, but the other pillars are probably where their participation is more significant. And there's a bit of work, I think, for us all to do to understand how we can engage with our business community to get back in. And there are a whole bunch of reasons for every country's businesses to find Horizon Europe challenging, as they find any country's research and innovation funding challenging just at the moment because of various uncertainties and challenges, etc., etc. It's not particular to us, but it is a community that we'll want to work on. How's that? Is that okay? Anything else?
Claire, do you want to say anything about our ambitions to sort of drive forward participation? Because I think, you rightly do point out we're doing really well with Marie Curie. So does that mean that we don't need to do this event? Does it mean that we don't need to make an intervention? But, when we got together as teams, we decided, very much that we wanted to do more because we felt there was more scope for growth across sectors, across subject disciplines. And I think in particular for me, with the doctoral training, I see lots of opportunities around that and co-fund. Claire?
No, exactly. I think this is what I try to say. The UK has been particularly active, you saw in the framework of the previous program, with the individual fellowship. So for more experienced researchers, allowing them, foreign researchers to come to do their research in the UK. But there is much more than that. So I think that's also the reason why we are here, so that that there is a possibility as well to be part of a big network, international network, doctoral network. I didn't mention, but you will hear we have the industrial networks, we have the industrial doctoral networks, we have joint doctoral networks as well. Co-fund is not very well known, although in some countries it works a lot. I mean, it works very well. It allows you to use local, your own funding, national, regional, local funding, and top it up with European funding, both for doctoral programs and postdoctoral fellowships. So I think we are here just to show as was said, I think the large variety of opportunities that are offered through the program.
Thank you so much. Of course, yeah.
Just one other thing I want to say, because the league table stuff is great fun, right? So that's always good fun. But I actually want to say something else, which is that I think that we should be doing our best to apply, because when we apply and do well, we strengthen the whole programme. We do it with others. It's not just about the UK, it's about the whole of the programme. There's a budget negotiation at the moment. In every country in the world, we know that there's a demand to increase R&I budgets, but there are constraints of all kinds on every country, whatever it is, wherever it is, and that's true also for the Commission. So I think there's something in this about us being an active and enthusiastic and brilliant part of a programme whose value is enormous, and we should be standing with our colleagues in Europe. It's not just about us being the best or leading the league table, it's us being with others, making this an absolutely amazing programme that allows the Commission to make those choices about future investment that will then reach 160 countries and do good right across the world. So I think that let's also think about that. And yeah, the league table's great, but at the end of the day, we're all playing for a much bigger prize of research and innovation for global good.
Great, thanks very much, Christopher. Yes, sir, please, go ahead.
Hi there, Thomas Rickard. You talked about distribution around the UK. And I was kind of curious also about distribution among organisations that are quite experienced in applying for grants, this grant and grants like it, and organisations that have little experience, not just in Marie Curie, but in grants in general, what you might say to them and support them.
Thanks, George. We'll go.
Yeah, I can take that, and you might want to add to it as well, John. And I think, this is wherein lies the value of UCRO in trying to level the playing field across the UK. Applying for and winning funding is not easy, and I've spent time in a university. I know the pitfalls of putting in what you think is a great grant and then it not being funded. And I think that there is also so much work that gets submitted that is fundable and is not funded as well. So I think and that speaks to sort of the budget and the sort of influence piece that Christopher was speaking about. One of the things that we try to do, with UCRO is sort of distill all of that information that comes from the Commission and help guide the UK university, HEI sector, innovation sector in their applications and make it a level playing field. We do know that there are differences within, you know, the sort of investments in research support infrastructure, you know, whether you've got who and how many European liaison officers, you know, in your office sort of actively supporting you. So this is why we do what we do, to try and put as much out there to guide people. John, do you want to...
Yeah, sure, yeah. Well, I suppose the only thing I would add is just a bit of sort of shameless self-promotion, really. Is that, so as an office, I mean, you may or may not be aware, what we have with the UK National Contact Point, we have information sessions on each of the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions calls. Now, a lot of that is introductory information, so it's for individuals who are new to the programs, and we repeat a lot of the same information on an annual basis. But you will know, and this goes to your point about experienced organisations or individuals experienced in applying for grants, there are always novelties. So each year, even though Marie Curie follows a relatively set structure and framework each year, there is either just slight changes in nomenclature or the emphasis of evaluation criteria, those kinds of things. So what we do as an office, our information sessions are always refreshed in that way. So if you are interested, this goes to anyone in the room, about finding what the latest information is, we'd encourage you to engage with the sessions that we run. They're online, they're open to everybody. Also, what we do is we engage with a community in Brussels, an informal network of the other equivalent offices from all over Europe, including ourselves. One part of that, one dimension of that, has a specific focus on Marie Curie actions, and we would frequently have commissioned speakers, for example, and a number of different sort of environments in which we would share intelligence with our equivalents across Europe. So even though we're UK-facing, we actually share anxiety and information with all of our European counterparts. That's the virtue of us being there physically, and we will communicate that to you and to everybody through our website. So we try and cater for all tastes in that sense, and I'd really just like to take just a couple of moments to shout out to the NCP colleagues, especially Anne, who's sat here as well, who in the last few years has really kind of created continuity and really spearheaded the information, and is in no small way responsible for the UK continuing to do well from Marie Curie in the last few years, even during, I think as Cyril put it, what was it, a few years of difficulty, small difficulties, is that how he described it? But yeah, also, again, this will be the final word from me, shameless plug. If you've got any follow-up questions, please use our Marie Curie NCP email, and we're more than happy to have an in-depth conversation about any dimension. So having whittled on for a while, we've run out of time, but if anyone has any final sort of burning questions that they would like to ask, yes, the lady at the back, and then we'll draw a line under this first session. Thank you. If you say who you are and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Karen Harris from the University of Glasgow, so I work in overseas schools, both in academics with their European funded endeavours. We still have academics who are suffering from the loss of relationships with European partners. So behind the scenes, is there renewed enthusiasm from the European partnerships that you back? We do still find there's a slight reluctance, maybe not across the board, but just interested to see the perspective from your side.
That's a great question. Thank you so much. What I might do is pose that both to Claire and Cyril, because we do quite a lot to reassure, or we try to reassure UK applicants, but people always ask us what the mood music is in the European Union, in the European Commission. So if you have perspectives on how happy, how welcoming, or how what the environment or what the general feeling is about UK partnerships. Claire, could I come to you first?
Yes. I think there is a lot of enthusiasm in Europe about the UK being back to the program, and this is why we are here as well. So if that was the sense of the question, there is a lot of support, there is enthusiasm, not only from us in the European Commission, but from the different countries within Europe and outside. We receive, maybe you will say it as well, we receive lots of questions about, already before the UK, whenever I was attending an information day, before the UK joined, there was always a question about the UK. When will the UK be back? Under which condition can the UK participate? So I think there is a lot of support and enthusiasm. And yes, I don't think that you should have any doubt about this.
I can only concur with what Claire has just said. Just 2 points. First, during the difficult years, there was a very, very strong movement of support for UK's association to the program, not just from UK stakeholders, but also from continental European EU universities, academia, and all the science sector there. So it was not just the UK wanting to join, it was the whole of Europe wanting the UK to be part of it. And today, information days like this, today we have it here in the UK, but there are also many all over Europe and in Brussels. And each time we have information days, there are questions about the UK, and there is a strong message passed from our side to all the science community all over Europe, and also in other associated countries, actually, Canada, from Canada to New Zealand, that the UK is back. So it's very important for us to spread that word, to spread the news all across Europe, and it is always very warmly received. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much. And with that, it's only due and proper that I asked anyone from the panel if they'd like to make any final comments or interventions. No. Okay, so there are just two things for me to say. One is, one, thank you to a team which Christopher highlighted, but perhaps has not given a huge amount of recognition, or the recognition it deserves, and that's to the UKRI Guarantee team. So there are representatives of that team here in the room today. That team, thank you. The team are responsible for keeping the wheels running, keeping the engine running during the let's call it the wilderness years, or I'll call it that. So that's one thank you. The final thank you is just to the panel for an incredibly stimulating first session. We have a coffee break now until 11:30. Please do return to this room for the second plenary, which will start at 11:30. But if you'd please just join me in one final round of applause just to thank our speakers. Thanks very much, everyone.